All right, and then can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
No. All right, so we'll turn it over to Philip here.
Meeting day survey.
Yeah, so I'll start by, I gotta share the screen, but Philip came to us through the University of Vermont. They have a local government internship program. I'll let him explain it more. We thought he'd have more projects to do, but then when we had almost 800 people fill out our survey, it became the bulk of his project, and a lot of work went into it. And he's done a pretty good job here, and obviously this will go around. I just gotta pull it up online.
Totally.
So Philip, if you wanna introduce yourself and your interest in local government, and then I'll pull this up while you're doing that.
Yeah. I'd just like to say first off, it's been awesome to kind of like work on this kind of project. The internship program at UVM, the one I'm in is called Local Democracy. They do their best to pair you up with a town in Vermont, catering to your interests, your likes, your major, and whatnot, and you kind of get to work with the town and town officials, and you have a specific contact that you can reach in and out of contact with. And I was lucky enough to have this guy. He's been amazing, very quick to respond, which a lot of my classmates unfortunately couldn't say. But regardless, my name is Philip Haddad. I just finished up my junior year at UVM, and I'm a health and society major with minors in statistics and music. So pretty much with this survey, I'll run through each of the questions one by one, give you an overview of the general statistics, and then I did some more descriptive statistics at the end, comparing one question to the other and seeing if anything, if there was any sort of correlation or similarities between them. So here we go. Question 1 was years lived in St. Albans town. The average residency of the respondents from this survey was around 24 years old. As you can see,
24 years lived in the town.
24 years lived in town, sorry. As you can see from this graph, it is skewed right, which means that the bulk of the respondents are typically below like 50 years old or so. As far as gender goes, around 43% were male from the survey and 57% were female. 45 people did not input their gender as well. And this was out of 769 total respondents. As far as Hispanic or Latino, 98%, almost 99% were not Hispanic or Latino. So 705 out of those 769. As far as race goes, the breakdown was 98% white, 0.29% black, 1.14% with Latino, and 0.57% other, which was typically Asian and Native American. For age, the average age of the respondents was around 61 years old. The data again skewed left, highlighting that the respondents from the survey are typically older. For the top 3 greatest issues with the town, this all came from a lot of inputting data, 769, but it was actually really great to kind of see all this come together in one piece. The top 3 were drug abuse, burglary, yeah, good, sweet. So number 1 was drug abuse, which was 67.23% of the respondents had that in their top 3. Burglaries or thefts was 337 out of the 769. And then the third was traffic issues. Close second was DUIs as well. And then the rest of the breakdown is there and available to you all. And if you guys have questions, you can ask either during or after. It's completely up to you guys. All right. So for question 7, that was additional details of concerns for the town or the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I'll just go through each one of them. First one was lack of mental health services, lack of juvenile services. A lot of people had something to say about the recent taking the SRO officer out of the schools, thinking that it will lead to long-term problems with the youth. As far as speeding and dangerous traffic issues, this is the list of all the street names that were mentioned. One that came up a lot was on Route 7 heading southbound near the Price Chopper. There's a dangerous right lane merge that a lot of people were saying that a lot of people would speed up in that right lane, cut the other person off, and could definitely lead to severe consequences in the future.
That's actually a good one. Could you send me how many people specifically said that one? Because we can send that to VTrans because they're re-looking at the road because the state owns the road.
Cool.
If we actually have numbers of people who are concerned with that, that's hopefully something the state can fix. You know, it's not a policing issue as much as it is a engineering design issue with the state.
Yeah, totally. I'd say it's around, from what I remember, like at least 10, which I feel like is significant enough just because a lot of people didn't necessarily put comments.
Right.
As far as suspicious activity, specific locations were the town park at night, Franklin Park by the interstate, the parking lot by Food City, Econo Lodge, and Cadillac Motel. Those, it seemed like, were the drug hotspots. Other locations that people had to say, there's a lot of complaints about like loud vehicles, unregistered vehicles, specifically in the Bay Area and around Main Street. And then a lot of people were also concerned about drugs coming in from over the border. A lot of the respondents seem to think that most of the drug issues in the town of St. Albans came from over the border. Whether or not that's true is, you guys would know more than I would, but
it's probably the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It has to come up from.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
Question 8. What can the Franklin County Sheriff's Office do to improve their services? Stay connected with sexual assault victims so they can see results. Increase foot patrols so community members can positively interact with officers. Monitor public bathrooms. People were saying there's a lot of overdoses happening there. Corey said there was only one, so. The town can improve their public health model for the community as well, using evidence-based and focused on prevention rather than tertiary treatment triage. Also developing a strategic plan that incorporates both public input, setting specific goals and strategies as well to accomplish those goals. A lot of people were in support of more mental health intervention for the police as well. Prioritizing addressing drug problems first, which it seemed like was important given the survey that they took, as almost 2/3 of the people had drug abuse as one of their top priorities. Most robberies, gang activity, violence, all drug and money related. Considering implementing safe drug use areas similar to Burlington, Vermont, which I actually wasn't aware of at the time, but from what this person was saying, providing clean needles and resources for help has shown positive results as well. Working closely with the city police, especially with drug issues, working more with drug abusers, prioritizing referral to care over criminalization charges, utilizing the mental health professionals in the area and care facilities more as well. Make summary statistics more accessible to the public. Is this going to be available to the public too, I assume? Okay, cool. Try to staff more officers, especially full-time, to assure appropriate response time and other issues around that fact too. Interacting with the youth more in a positive manner and building up those relationships. People were saying, especially since the SRO officer has been taken out of the schools. And then just be aware of circulating social media about crime in the community as well. Additional concerns or questions? Are there enough programs for users trying to break addiction? That question came up 3 or 4 times among respondents. One survey said they wanted to see if the town could implement a sidewalk down Fairfax Street. You guys would be more familiar with that than I would be, but
It's on the list. It's Fairfax Street's weird because it needs a bridge, so that's actually like a very expensive sidewalk project, like a $3 million sidewalk project.
that would be over the bridge.
Yeah, we'd have to build a bridge,
Okay, interesting.
which makes it'd be expensive either way, but the bridge part makes it pretty complicated.
Yeah, sounds good. Several respondents believe that the FSCO is stretched and should hire more officers. Advocated to increase the police budget as well. One of the questions that came up was, does the Franklin County Sheriff's Office implement bias training? Also, having resources from the NCSS is a crucial missing link to improving the mental health crisis. Many parent responders were also concerned with the removal of the SRO in schools, making sure that there is kind of a check-in or a third party, making sure that there's no targeting of low-income and BIPOC residents. And the numerous respondents had great things to say and really appreciated the work of the town and that the Franklin County Sheriff's Office has been doing. So the first question, what extent do you think the Franklin County Sheriff's Office practices community policing? So from this data, the overwhelming number, the majority of respondents said 41 said that to some extent they thought that the Sheriff's Department practices community policing. Second in the race was a lot with 28.67. And the graph on here has a slight left skew, but we can generally say that most of the respondents had positive things to say about this question. To what extent does FCSO make it easy for community members to provide input? Very similar graph with around 41% of respondents selecting some, followed by 29.79% inputting a lot, and 199 respondents did not answer as well. Question 12, to what extent do you feel safe in the town of St. Albans when you are outside alone? Around 48% of respondents said a lot, which is a good sign. And again, right's left skewed graph indicating that most of the respondents had generally felt safe in the town of St. Albans. To what extent do officers in the Franklin County Sheriff's Office treat people fairly? Majority of people said a lot, 51.09%, and only a total of around 6%, 5 or 6%, said not a lot or a little. To what extent are officers within the Franklin County Sheriff's Office respectful? Very similar graph to the previous questions. 49.82% said a lot, followed by 18.55% saying some, but again, same deal, generally positive responses for the respect level of the officers. To what extent do you trust the Franklin County Sheriff's Office? 46.46 say a lot, 26.85% to a great extent. The graph again is skewed left with the majority of respondents selecting a lot. Question 16. To what extent are you satisfied with the overall performance of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office? Around 46% say a lot, 25% responded some, and 22.26 responded to a great extent. We're good. To what extent are you satisfied with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office for traffic issues? The majority of people in these next three questions generally had no opinion or no interaction. But as far as, if we take that out, it's again a generally positive response, with 27.21% of people agreeing to a great extent, or are satisfied to a great extent, excuse me. To what extent are you satisfied with your interactions with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office? These are all non-traffic issues. 49, almost 50% say to a great extent. Around 20% agree. And the graph again, even without the no opinion, is left skewed, indicating that the majority of respondents are generally satisfied or somewhat indifferent with.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it number 6? I have no opinion or no interaction.
Yes.
Yep.
So not to a great extent. The 50%.
Right. Yep. Good catch. Sorry about that. Yep. Sweet. Let's make sure. Alright, I got the next one right. 53.36 had no interaction. 20.34% were very satisfied. The graph again skewed left, indicating that there's a majority of respondents that are generally satisfied with 911 emergency calls. And I assume they typically reference response time. I think that's sounded like that was the wording of the question. So, For this last part, I wanted to go into a little bit of depth as to how gender, whether there were any gender differences in response to the questions I just went over, 10 through 19. We'll start with question 10. Each one of the colors represents not a lot, a little, some, a lot, to a great extent, or for the remaining questions with no interaction, 6 would be no interaction. Generally, I've found between the different questions, there wasn't a huge scale in difference between genders. Some of the questions in question 10, there seemed to be a little bit of a wider spectrum, higher maximum, minimum number of people that generally said some for that question. And you can kind of see throughout the board that it's generally the same, but in regard to the test that I ran, it's a chi-squared test, which it looks at the general relationship between these two categorical variables, and it seemed that the respondents were typically the same. So yeah, that was generally, just double checking. And that is it. If you guys have any specific questions, want me to go over anything again, I'll also be sending the data, the hardcore data, to Corey as well, just to kind of have it on record and whatnot. So, but if you guys have any questions, go for it.
I have a question and a comment. I'll go with the comment first, just for recording purposes. I just want to point out that anything that had to do with the SRO is not under the town, and it's not under the sheriff. So that's strictly a Maple Run Unified School District issue and had nothing to do with us. So it wasn't relevant to what we were asking, but a lot of people had comments about it. So there's that. And then my question is, did you find any responses where people were utilizing the questionnaire more like a I have a problem right now with the sheriff's department and like I need help in addressing this? Were there any responses where like we need to somehow find out the specifics and not just like the numbers and the data of it?
Are you talking about like immediate problems?
Yeah, like was there anybody saying like, I have a problem with the sheriff's office, this is a really big issue, can you handle this right now? Anything like that?
There weren't any immediate concerns. There were some comments regarding specific interactions that people have had with the sheriff's office. I think those generally were not directed towards a specific officer. Either that or they didn't include that in the survey. But as far as immediate concerns, there were no immediate concerns that I remember. But
and do we have those complaints like compiled in any way?
Yeah, they're all in the spreadsheet as well.
I'll send the spreadsheet tomorrow when Philip sends it to me. I'll send it to everyone on the committee.
The list that I provided for questions 7, 8, 9 were all general recurring ones, but I can also definitely send the whole list of comments to you guys. That'll be in the spreadsheet.
And we still have all the physical copies in town hall of the survey. If we were to find something and perusing through, we can search through the 760 of them.
Definitely. And if you guys wanted to look at whether, it was their age or gender or another demographic had any correlation to that. For example, if they were BIPOC and they had racial issues with a specific police officer, I can try to find that for you too, looking through the data, and direct you to exactly which survey that would be. So.
Any other questions or comments for Philip? I know I appreciate his work. That's a lot of pieces of paper to work through and just put into the spreadsheet, let alone do the analysis on. So
I was gonna say, I myself have done a lot of statistics.
And on that.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the hard part of the internship is Philip wasn't allowed to really work in town hall just with the COVID guidelines. So he was working off all those surveys off of a PDF. So I can't imagine that. To me, it would be even harder. I'm probably still old-fashioned where I would have gone like my stack and gone one at a time and put them down. So no, you did a good job. Those were a lot of surveys to get through.
Yeah, it was nice. I would kind of just put on music and get into a rhythm with the beat, and then just go,
I do have another question. Of those questions where there was the 6 responses and the 6th response was, I don't have any interaction. Can we sort of reconfigure those numbers to look at like the percentage of the 1 through 5?
Sure.
Yeah, I can
totally.
do that too, Philip. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Depending on your project, but yeah, I can reconfigure it and run the average percentages and send them over.
Yeah, because that would be useful for us to see, like, of those people who actually do have interactions, like what were their responses,
Yeah, definitely.
feel about the issue.
Yeah. And this is just a reminder, we had about 1,600 people vote on town meeting day. So we got in the high 40% of the voters to actually fill this out, just slightly under half. So it's, it's of voters. I can't say it's of the whole adult population, but to me, there's only, we only got 98 responses, and then I'll try to put some together to send around too of how these compare to the survey we did in the fall, percentage wise, with the one where we had like 98 respondents, and just, obviously I'll expect some variation because, each one response in the last one was worth more theoretically, but it pretty much, to me, it trends where we were seeing before.
People did also appreciate this survey. They really thought it was a good idea, and they hope that in the future they can have more community surveys and compile that general population data and then have it shared with them as well.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way for us to sort of like write up a report of the general findings of it and get that to the voters, so that they have that information, because it seems like since the age of the respondents was in the older category, maybe they wouldn't necessarily see something online, on Facebook, through the social media, through the website. I wonder if there's a way for us to write up a general report and maybe mail that out. I know mailings are expensive, but maybe with our one.
I think maybe at least a more affordable thing. I mean, obviously this is all on channel 15, but it's tough for people watching. I can talk to Josh Ellerbrock at the Messenger and just see if he can do an article on it, and at least you'd get a news report out on it. And I know they cover some of our hearings, but don't show up in person. And then I'll talk to Digger. Sean Robinson covers a lot of the Franklin County stuff, so I'll see if between the two of them they can cover it, and that might get out a little more and hit those avenues.
Yeah, definitely. That would be great.
Danielle?
I was gonna suggest, I think that's a good idea. We could also put it in the town report too. I mean, that's not gonna be quite as timely, But for the first one, I think maybe having it go out in the paper would be kind of nice, at least some of the highlights. But I think in the town report would be also a good place to have it, especially because of the demographics of the population who responded. I think those tend to be the people that actually do kind of read the town report. And it might encourage others to respond next time.
Makes sense.
Any other ideas, concerns, questions? Anything else about the survey?
No, again, just appreciative that Philip was able to help us get it done.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was great.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys too. I mean, obviously doing projects in the moment isn't fun, but the reward after is, it's nice to be able to help in some way in some larger community. So thank you guys.
Be able to get somebody next year.
Yeah, we're still talking to the professor. They do the program every year and they do summer internships. So hopefully it's definitely something Carrie and I would like to utilize more at the town, just for some, projects like this where we don't have a ton of extra staff, and it's nice to have some helping hands. And we picked this project for Philip when he kind of said he was interested in statistics and some of the other community policy stuff. We thought hey, this is a good project where you can utilize that skill, but also very real, kind of get that democracy in action and seeing people voice their opinion on issues facing the community.
And I'll be with you guys over the summer.
Perfect. So,
Good.
Excellent. All right, moving on. Public comments. There is no one in meeting.
public, nope.
So any other business?
Yes, I have some. I am officially leaving the town at the end of next week. I am leaving my role as Director of Operations. Carrie's still trying to figure out how this committee will be staffed. For now, she's considering giving the committee the summer off so that communication will go out, just determining that. So this will be our last time together with me here.
Where are you going?
I am starting my own consultancy firm. I've locked in a few sustainable and founding contracts, and I'm gonna. I've noticed a lot of municipalities have a lot of projects, but not enough staff to do it, and there's definitely a market there, and a few other things. So I'm gonna be, having a little more flexibility working on my own, and still around, but using the skill set I developed over the last decade or so in state and local government to do projects kind of, through a consultant role. And I'm gonna finish up a number of them here at the town, so I'm, gonna be at the town for a little bit, but yep, moving on.
Congratulations.
And good luck.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's something I've toyed with in the past, but there was never the one or two contracts that made me feel confident enough to leave regular employment, and landed two pretty good ones that allow me to make that jump.
Okay. Any other business?
None. I will pull up the minutes from 13th. Sorry. If people aren't comfortable voting on them this time around, I can send them around, but I do have them here. So let me do the share the screen. So our last meeting was April 13th. Everyone except Dan was in attendance. Nakuma, did I spell your name right? I wanted to be sensitive to that. Yeah, it looks like I did. Meeting was called to order. No changes to the agenda. So here, the chair, vice chair, clerk. Danielle was more kind of a voluntold to be clerk, but I made it sound nicer. Oh, my computer's freezing. Oh no. Sorry about that. Kicked me off screen share. Can you guys see the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Typo here. Rules of procedure adopted. Update on the surveys. I was wrong. That was 254, so I must have miscounted when we sent them over. Went over scheduling. Jay raised a few concerns about the validity of the schedule kind of after fact. It's explained it came from QuickBooks. No public comment, no other business. No, I don't have the March meeting minutes. I'll get those ready for. I'll make sure those are out to you guys for the next one.
Adopted is spelled wrong.
Huh?
Adopted is spelled wrong under minutes.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, my name is spelled wrong too, but it's
Yeah, I see it. Is it spelled the right way or no? Is it more than?
I don't know, half the time I can't spell it right, so I'm not gonna fall down.
And then we adjourned at 7:20. The other thing too, I think just for a highlight for this committee to potentially look at in the fall, there's going to be a new sheriff. The sheriff's not running for re-election. I don't know if there's going to be a race yet. Petitions are due tomorrow, but if there is one, maybe this group hosts a community forum in the fall. It is one of their meetings to debate the future of the Franklin County Sheriff's Department. That's the only thing I would throw out. Extra, sorry, I should throw that in other business, but I thought would be a good, fun meeting to change things up in this process.
Do I need a motion to adopt the minutes? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Danielle. All in favor? Oh, any discussion?
Was it Nakuma or Danielle who seconded it? I thought I heard
Danielle.
Nakuma. Oh, right. Both did. All right.
Oh, okay, sorry. Miss Nakuma doing it. It was a fight. Any discussion about the minutes? All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. And yeah, then a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
That was Danielle.
I'll second it.
Jay seconded. Excellent. Thank you very much. And so just to clarify, I guess I should have clarified this before adjourning, but we can't have a meeting.
So the select board has made it clear they want staff at the meetings. So a staff member, and Carrie's just trying to figure out who the appropriate be. And obviously there's going to be a little bit of a staff crunch without me in the building, and others, and some of the other, other projects are going to be getting placed out to other folks. So I think she's, still ultimately figuring it out. I would say June's probably going to be at least off, but I'll send a communication before I'll send a communication before I leave. We're still figuring all of that out. I gave my notice last week, so we're just working through what projects they need my help continued on, who can take over the other ones, and so on and so forth.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you when I see you.
See ya.